Hello, Milford community, and welcome back to this episode of MPS Talks. This is going to be run a little bit differently. We had an opportunity to see an unbelievable program last week. I had the privilege to be a part of, as both a presenter and as a spectator, our Leadership Academy. And let me tell you, it was fascinating to see all the work that was done, our senior captains and the effort that they put in, and the presenters of the content. And during those 3 days, I thought it'd be fabulous to bring in our athletic director, Peter Boucher, who has launched this initiative and has taken it to new heights. And I wanted that to be shared with our community today as this focus of MPS Talk. So welcome in, Athletic Director Boucher.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. I appreciate it.
Awesome. How have the last 3 days been?
Fantastic. I appreciate you bringing me in to chat about it. It's something that our athletic department, our entire school, I think the district now is kind of on board. We had teachers observing yesterday while you were presenting. We had athletic directors from other schools now around the Commonwealth are saying, like, hey, what's going on in Milford? Because people aren't doing what we're doing. And it was a lot of work, as you mentioned. I was a little tired at 2 o'clock yesterday, but exhilarated, I think, is a better word. We were just excited to really reach our goals over 3 days and get where we felt we needed to be.
So you did say it's a lot and a lot goes into it. What is the Academy? Can you kind of tell our community what the Leadership Academy is and your goals for the program?
Sure. So the evolution really started when I started. I think it's about 3.5 years ago. So I came on board in December, and as a former principal, former wellness director, obviously former head coach too, I've always struggled and wondered, outside of the classroom, who's teaching, instructing our kids to be great leaders, not just great academic students and students of life and students of academia, but who's teaching our kids to be leaders or captains, if you will. So when I arrived, I really started to have a conversation with Jonathan Raskow, who is our head athletic trainer, and Jay Mastey, who is our head girls coach and former vice president of EMC, who really worked with a lot of social emotional pieces of EMC, although I didn't know it at the time. So long story short, we looked around a couple of months, couldn't really, the MIA offers a couple of conferences, like a one-day conference or a morning conference, and we wanted to go deeper. We wanted to really instill life skills, leadership skills. So we kind of just came up with it one day and said, why don't we just build our own? Why don't we take our own expertise, use
And when did this happen? You said we thought about building ours.
Yeah, we're talking 2013.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
Going into the summer of 2014. So there's been an evolution, there's been a genesis, and in all honesty, we took our own staff and we built a 2-day academy. Right there, our boosters, Milford High School boosters, huge shout out to them. They agreed to pay for lunch, which is about $500 a day, so that was a $1,000 donation. And then Mr. Garth Yon, who is a graduate of Milford High School, he's also a parent of a couple of kids at the high school now. He was able to get his company to come on board to buy the t-shirts that you're wearing right now. That's almost $1,000. And then as we have moved forward, you jump to where we are now, 2017. We have experts like yourself coming in. You and I really hit the bookends. I started with leadership. You finished with leadership on day 3. And then you have all sorts of people jumping in to help us. You have the boosters still continuing to support the food. You have Garth Yon's company, Petro, coming in and funding the t-shirts. But we also have Lenny Morcone and Community Use helping us with busing, which I'm going to guess is probably $500 or $600. Who they transported us over to the Franklin YMCA, which was our additional full 1-day training, which you came over and were able to experience, which was amazing. It's that experiential learning. It's these artificial goals and challenges where the kids have to work through, and that was funded by the Department of Health and Republic to the tune of about $3,500. So wow. It just continues to grow and grow. I also would love to mention that Dr. McIntyre as the superintendent, Lucy Jenkins have jumped in to help us. They funded a guest speaker, Pam Garamone, who you and I experienced a couple of weeks ago at the leadership retreat. She talked about being happy and all sorts of other things.
So let me just jump in for a second. So you talked a lot about the sponsorship who've brought these wonderful programs. You've talked about some of the speakers. You mentioned the YMCA. Now, as a spectator in some of that, I saw a lot of teamwork happening.
Yes.
What were some of the other themes or goals that you hoped, and I think actually happened, come out of the 3-day
No,
event
that's a
this
great
year?
point, and I brought the agenda just to be able to share, because I think that two things are really, and I love this, but it really isn't super important to me. A lot of other districts, a lot of other schools, the MIA is taking a huge notice of what we're doing. As a matter of fact, they actually closed their office in the spring, and Jay Mastey and I went in and presented professional development and showed them 2 of our modules, because they just wanted to see there was such a buzz about what we're doing. They wanted to see exactly what we were doing. So, I started off with leadership, talked about Jeff Jansen's, being an encourager, being an enforcer, and whatnot. And you were there for that, and then you came in at the end of our academy and talked about leadership as making a difference, and all the tenets of what is great leadership. So that was one of our modules. You talk about conflict resolution. I'm not really sure how many high school students, let alone captains and leaders, get a chance to spend 2 hours with a true expert on how do you handle conflict before it gets to the executive level or the head coach's level. How do you deal with locker room banter? How do you deal with disagreements on the field? How do you deal with any kind of ruckus like that? And I think the response from our student athletes, our captains over the last 3 years has been, wow, we didn't know what we didn't know. And they've been so effective in being able to help their coaches handle small little issues that might have grown to be big ones, yet they were able to jump in and handle it. Some of the other topics, we had social media. You and I know, we live in that world, right? That's your world, a big chunk of your world, with being the director of technology. And the kids, and I love the way Andrew Manini, who's a Milford graduate, teaches in Hopedale, but is our head boys volleyball coach. His message wasn't, don't use social media. It was, how can we use it in a positive and encouraging fashion? He did a wonderful job with that. Some of the other topics we had were action planning and goals, which is so powerful. Head coach Kim Danish was able to talk about that. And then Garth Yon came in. Remember the video?
Yep.
I'm not even sure I can explain it. The dancing guy turning, this one situation, once you get a couple of followers and now you're a leader, and then, wait a minute, now you have to really conduct yourself accordingly, and you have 2 powerful things as a leader. It's what you say and what you do, and they have to match, and I'm hoping that's what our captains took away from the academy.
So one of the things, I'm going to wrap up with two questions for you. So we had a 3-day academy that you put on. You had multiple presenters come in. You had about between 50 and 60 of the captains. The event is over.
Yes.
What is your hope that your captains can take to the field and also into the halls of Milford High School?
Great question. So, because you've been really, really involved this year, and we appreciate everything you're doing.
It's been my pleasure.
And I hope you stay involved next year because it's been quite helpful. We call the academy now our mantra, which we talked about in some of our modules, right? Is forging the future. And really what we're hoping to, as we sort of go into the fall campaign. And into the winter campaign, and then we segue into the spring campaign in the Hockomock League and whatnot, is that I really, really hope that our captains have the tools and the equipment to be able to be great people, great leaders, and great friends, to be honest with you, because the cold hard reality is, and it's a great cold hard reality, is a lot of our Milford kids become and remain Milfordians. A lot of Milford kids go off to college and come back and live here. So we want them to be really great people. I've completely acknowledged that if we give them these great skills, we may get one or two more W's a season in each sport. Maybe. Who knows? I'm not sure. But what we want is great leaders. We want them to be kind. We want them to be respectful. We want them to be just great people. And we want them to really diffuse that throughout the school. They're not just captains in the afternoon. They're captains, at their homes. They're captains when they go out to dinner. They're captains walking in the hall. They're captains when they're sitting in the classroom. They're captains and leaders in the lunchroom. They're captains everywhere. And we want them to remain and really move forward and just be great people. Upstanding citizens, I think, is what we're looking for.
That's fabulous. So thank you for your time in coming in. I know how busy you have been over the past 3 days. And as we wrap up this section, we're going to transition into our next section. And Before we transition, I just wanted to take a minute to really talk to our Milford community to say how lucky we are to have our athletic director, Peter Boucher, put on an event like this and all of our leaders to get behind it and really build up our youth leaders, captains, student leaders in our community. So one, I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And
It's my
one, I
pleasure.
want to make sure that our community can acknowledge and see all the hard work sometimes you don't see off the field and outside of the classroom that's happening with our leaders. So thank you for that, and we are going to call in some of our athletes who had a chance to participate in the 3-day event. So we had an opportunity to talk to Athletic Director Boucher and hear about the overall program and how fabulous it is. And now I wanted to invite in some of our captains who had an opportunity to participate in the 3-day academy. So we are going to actually start off and have Josh introduce himself and talk about the captains and what sport that they are a captain of.
My name is Josh Tagore. I am a junior captain for varsity lacrosse. I also play football and basketball.
I'm Matt Kern. I'm a senior captain for football, and I also play track.
I'm Kyra Alves. I'm a senior captain for volleyball and track, and those are the two sports I play.
I'm Kate Irwin. I'm a senior and I'm a captain for basketball and I also play softball.
So thank you for coming in today. One of the things I wanted to talk about, because I'm just so impressed with the program, and I talked with Athletic Director Boucher about his takeaways. What are some of your takeaways over the last 3 days of the event? Josh, we'll start with you.
My biggest takeaway from this whole event is, I really learned how when you're a leader, you can positively reinforce your team so, they keep trying so they don't give up and they don't, their heads don't get down, and you continue to, help them succeed. That's something that I really think will help. It keeps the team atmosphere great, and it will translate to success on the field and in the locker room.
Cool.
Awesome. Matt, football season's starting, a week away?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. What were some of the takeaways for you that you're going to bring on the field?
For me, the biggest takeaway that I took was the importance of communication to resolve conflict and even keep it from happening, to prevent it. On the field, in the locker room, between players, with coaches, anything like that, how communication can keep everyone at the same level and moving forward toward the same goal.
Awesome.
At the Y on Tuesday in Franklin, I learned how to lead my team from the front, beside, and behind them, both on the court and on the track.
Cool.
Awesome. And Kate, how about you?
I learned that teamwork and having a close bond and communicating creates a team chemistry that really helps with success on and off the court and will help in the long run in the season.
Fabulous. And one of the sessions I had an opportunity to see yesterday was about goals and planning goals for your team. What are some of the goals that you're going to bring back as the captain for your team? And we can start right with Kate.
Okay, well, last year for basketball, we made the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. And we ended up losing our first game, but it was a great experience. And I think a goal is to definitely make the playoffs and go as far as we can. And then for softball, a goal is definitely to win a state championship again and go back to back.
Nice.
Great.
For volleyball, our goal is to make playoffs again and go farther than the district semis like we did last year, hopefully get a state title. And then for track, it's to be league champs.
Great.
For football, I think one of the smallest goals for us would be to beat North Attleboro, and then a bigger goal would be the Super Bowl.
Great.
I think goals for the lacrosse team, is to constantly, we want to win as many games as possible. I want to hit probably about 10 wins and make the tournament. And then I want to constantly improve, the team atmosphere and the, yourself as a team, as a player, as a team player. So I think that's a good goal to reach.
Fantastic. When I talk on Monday night, which this coming Monday night, but the fall, the winter, and the spring, when I talk to the parents, it's our all fall night or all winter night. We bring the parents in, we bring the student athletes in. We always talk about 3 goals: win the Hawk, win the division, win the state, and that's something that we're always looking for, is just making sure that we have a winning record, or that's our goal anyway. Speaking of that, a couple of you have our shirts on. if you wouldn't mind, I don't know, can we do that? I know we're on studio here.
Kate
but
and Josh probably can.
Could we take a look at the back? Yeah, I kind of want the audience, the folks out there to see, talking about goals, practice hard to win easy.
Awesome. All right, that's.
This is something that we've been talking about the last couple of years, and I can kind of give the summary and see how you guys feel about it. But, I think they all know what it means, and you know what it means, but I'd love for the community to know. When we talk about practice hard to win easy, we all want to win the state, we want to win the league, we want to win games. Everybody wants to win on game day, but you don't win on game day. You know what I'm saying? It happens days in advance, weeks in advance, months in advance. You got all these kids coming in for our new summer conditioning that's 2 years old, where we have a staff person now who's running summer conditioning. For me, I guess what I'm wondering is, are you guys comfortable with that? Do you believe in this? Is it something you feel is good for our department? Practice hard to win easy. It's pretty much on everything we do. It's a lot of branding. But how do we feel about that?
I think it's great. You're absolutely right. I don't think you can just show up and win. It's something you got to take one day at a time. You got to win each day. Coach Danish.
Good catch. We talked about that in the academy. Win each day. Yeah,
Coach
great
Danish
call.
yesterday, she said, you got to wake up with a win the day mentality, and you got to take one day at a time. So.
Yeah, it definitely. It takes time. Takes less than a week. Takes less than a month. A lot of us football guys, we're getting in after the old season year's over, and we're even in the weight room, in January, working out and building our team again once our seniors leave. And I think that's what it takes to win every day. Yeah.
No, good call. Good call.
I think from what we took away from our special guest, Pam, when she came, your brain does what you tell it to do. So if you tell yourself, we're going to win our first game, we're going to go to playoffs, then if you teach your brain that, then it'll happen.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's not just what you do at practice, what you do on your free time too, when no one else is watching, going and at home and hitting off the tee, or staying after practice and shooting free throws, or just doing whatever to put more time in.
No, and that's a great point. When we practice hard to win easy also talks about, getting the proper sleep, getting the proper nutrition, not putting things that are negative for your body in your body, and just making good choices 24/7. So no, and I just wanted to have that conversation because I think it's something that really drives the department right now.
No, I think that's great. And one question I wanted to throw to our four captains is, one of the things that you just said was student athletes. And we did have an opportunity to talk about athletics. We talked about some of the things and goals that you had for yourselves as captains and athletes. But a lot of the skills that I saw over the 3 days transition not just onto the field, but into the classroom, because you're all Milford students. And how are some of the skills that you learned over the 3 days going to help you over this next year, and hopefully moving on into college or senior year, that you were able to take away?
As far as the topics go, do you feel like this is strictly athletics, or are these going to be life skills that'll help you in the classroom, in the hallways?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what we're wondering.
Yeah.
Do you see it outside of the athletic arenas, if you will? I think that's kind of what we're wondering.
Absolutely. I would take this these skills that I just learned these past 3 days, and not just implement it on the field. I would use it in student leadership, because I do student leadership, and I think using that to help drive my class, to help drive all the things we need to do that. Like, for example, junior year we gotta plan prom, and that's a huge thing to do. So you have that leadership. So when it gets a little stressful, like this past year for the auction, it was a little stressful. So. But when you have that leadership, and you keep that positive reinforcement and let everybody know it's going to be fine, it's going to come out great, and I think that's really important.
No, it's good. It's a good point. That's a good leadership. Just it's all coming together, but you have to have that one or two people, encouraging, amplifying, and just saying, being staunch and stubborn and saying, this is going to be okay. Let's keep pushing forward. I like that. Good.
Others feel comfortable sharing some of the skills that you learned over the 3 days, maybe how to help you in the classroom? I know our new principal, Josh Otland, would love to see increased in our student leadership as well.
Yeah, I think we went over the traits of a good leader, and one of them was confidence. I think confidence for us is a big deal. I think if you're not confident, going into a test, going into a quiz, going in a classroom, it definitely shows. And if you're in a leadership role, for a sport or for academics, that shows and that wears on other people. Well, if this guy isn't confident and he's an A/B student, then I don't really know if I'm so confident. I think that definitely does play a role in academics.
Nice. Well said.
Yeah, just because you lead example on the field doesn't mean you can't lead by example in the classroom as well.
Great.
That's perfect. That's exactly, and that's where we're trying to go. Really, one of the things we talked about in our previous session was that, we are, with this academy, we're trying to forge the future. And you guys are the future. Many of you are going to come back and live here, but, we want our captains, well, for the most part, I know, everybody says they're going to move away, but so many people come back, and I think that's a great thing. We talk about our captains being leaders in the classroom, in the hallway, in the cafeteria. We talked about core values, number 3, Scarlet Hawk 24/7, 365. You guys are going to leave here. You might go to, somebody might go out to lunch. Somebody might go catch a movie. But whether you're wearing the red and white or not, you're still leaders and you're still representing, Milford community. So, it's important.
So girls, I'm going to wrap up with you on that. What does that mean, Scarlet Hawks 24/7? What does that mean to you?
To me personally, it means like setting yourself to a higher standard, like especially at Milford, because we take sports and academics so seriously, and we've always been like a sports town. Sometimes it changes sports, but we always set ourselves to a higher standard, making sure we're doing the right things, and we have to do the right things in order for people to follow us. So if we're like telling people not to go to a party and we go ourselves, then it basically defeats the purpose of anyone leading us.
Excellent.
Huge.
I mean, like not only to whatever you're doing, whatever sport you're doing, work hard whenever you're doing it, but also, like Mr. Boucher said, wherever you go, you're representing this, not only the school, but you're representing your team. And if you're doing something that isn't always considered good, it will set a bad example on what the Milford Hawks is, and like it makes our team look bad, and no one wants that.
Excellent.
Good call.
Well, I want to thank you for coming in today. It was fabulous for me to see the 3 days, but I didn't want to have that information for myself. For me, I wanted our community to see the amazing work that's happening over the summer in the athletics community, with our education, with a lot that's happening, developing our student leaders. And hopefully you have a chance to see this, and next year, come on out and see all the great things that is happening with our Summer Leadership Academy.
There's something in your heart, and this in your eyes is the fire inside of you. Let it